Hey guys, I've been meaning to do this story because it's a story that hits home for a lot of people. Not because you have money does not mean that you're not going to have tragedy in your family. And this is true for Master P. He lost his daughter, Tatiana, about 2 weeks ago, and he was on the Gail King show talking about the loss of his daughter and how much they did in terms of getting her help. And he said she was just overcoming her addiction because she had just came out of rehab. And this is the thing a lot of people don't understand about rehab. When you go through rehab and all the substance they take out of your body, it's part of the program, not only to get into your mind to stop you from using, but it's also to clear your body of substances. Now, when they clear the body of substances and you go back there in the world after being released from the rehab center and you try to take that same dose of that drug that you are used to taking, it does not work the same. What it does, it will put you in an overdose situation because remember, all the drug that was in your system is out. And so when you are reintroduced to the same dosage that you took prior to going into rehab, your body is not used to that high dosage anymore because the tolerance buildup is gone. You have nothing in your system. There's no lasting drug floating around, and so you will OD, especially on that fentanyl, and I believe that was her drug of choice, fentanyl. And clinicians will tell you, once it's cleared out of your system and you go back to the same dose, you will overdose. And this is pretty much what happened to Master P's daughter. But he said he's going to turn this negative into a positive for people out there, children out there, young adults out there. And because he couldn't save his daughter, he said, but at least he can save millions of people. If not millions, at least one person out there he can save from going through this devastation that his daughter went through. And young people out there, if you've never tried drugs, don't try it because it will hold you. Your body craves it. Like how you crave sugar and ice cream. Sometimes that's the kind of craving that you have to have it. You run out there. The best analogy is pregnant women when they have to have certain things. There's no rhyme or reason why they must have ice cream and pickles together, peanut butter and pickles. It's just something the body wants and the body craves. And you do not rest until you have it. How many times a pregnant woman would tell her husband in the middle of the night, 1 o'clock in the morning, and it's snowing, there's a snow storm out there, tell her husband to go get her certain items from the store. And she will not rest until she has it. It's the same thing. It's that craving. So if you've never done drugs before, don't even try any type of drugs. That's the safest way. Not even smoking marijuana, because that may lead to another type of drug use. And you don't want to start something you cannot finish. So getting back to Master P, he said that his new mission is to help a lot of people out there who are suffering the same type of abuse, drug abuse, like his daughter did. Of course, over the years, I'm sure she tried to stop using and to get off of it, but the drug is too strong. The pull is too strong. And he said she had so many dreams and so many visions of just doing better things for her life when her life was cut short because she was relatively young. She was only 29 years old, and that's very young. She barely began to live her life. So Master P paid an emotional tribute to Tatiana, his deceased daughter, when he performed at Funk Fest at the Central Florida Fairgrounds in Orlando, Florida, a couple of weeks ago. And he brought the crowd to tears, and there was a moment of silence. It is so sad, but he says he remembers his daughter on a daily basis. There's not a day that goes by that he doesn't think about her. So Master P put out a statement that he's always been his daughter's parachute, and now she's his parachute in the sky. And he says, no more grieving. It's time to celebrate her and to help millions of people dealing with mental illness and substance abuse. And isn't that true, guys? There's come a time in your grieving process when you just have to stop and take stock and to just say, okay, how can I build a legacy now for my daughter now that she has moved on, so that we can celebrate her in a more productive way. Instead of crying all the time, maybe we can get out there and help people in the same situation, and that is building a legacy for her. It will be in her name. How fitting and how poignant is that? So you guys out there in YouTube land, if you're going through the same thing, it doesn't have to be big money. It can be starting very, very small from the grassroots and helping your community. Helping maybe a few of the kids who you know that are on drugs in your community. You can help them into a treatment program, or to just give them a coat or warm socks, or, you know, just something to just bring them through a rough winter, and just assign them to a counselor, take them by the hand, you know, do something. But instead of dwelling on the loss of your loved one, you can help somebody else out there in the same situation. But isn't it true? The devil always try to reach those that we love the most, or those who have so much promise, so much dreams in their lives. Master P said his daughter said at one time she wanted to be president. She was reaching for the stars. She had high hopes for herself. And those are the ones that the devil always try to reach. You guys know Master P is well respected in the hip-hop community. He's not only about saying it, but he's about doing it. So he has already started his journey upon helping people who have substance abuse towards recovery. He says, he put out a statement and he says, well, one of the statements anyway, he talks about don't hold a secret if your family member is struggling. Don't hold a secret. When you talk about it, when you talk about mental illness and substance abuse, people don't want to talk about it, but talk about it. He says, continue the talks. You may not realize that one of those talks is going to reach the person, but it's important to talk and not be silent, because it is something that is in so many families in the Black community that we need a conversation. Oftentimes people don't want to talk about it because they're afraid to approach the subject, and also the person who is experiencing the drug addiction, a lot of times they're angry. Not only do they not want to talk about it, because a lot of times they're ashamed, they're disappointed in themselves, they're disappointed that their family members have to see them this way, because they were the promised dream for a lot of times their families. You know, they see that person as the one who is going to make it, and they didn't make it. So it's a lot of disappointment. So, but Master P is encouraging the families out there who are going through it to talk. The talking is the first step to recovery. So the biggest takeaway Master P said from this experience with the loss of his daughter, Tatiana, is that he advises all of us to love hard, love our family members, give them big hugs, big kisses, tell them I love you before they walk out the door, because you never know if that's the last time you're going to be seeing them, if they're ever going to be walking back through those doors. So his daughter is gone, but he has more children, and he's really looking at Romeo to change the next generation, to be the catalyst, to be one of the soldiers out there who can be an influencer on young people's lives. So, Romeo, step up to the challenge. Don't disappoint your father. But more importantly, don't disappoint yourself. So Master P says when he got the phone call, he realized his daughter was never going to come back. Because remember, he's from the streets. And when you get that call, unlike a lot of people who says, oh my God, I can't believe it. Oh, she's going to be walking through that door tomorrow or any day. Or he says, no, the reality is she's gone. She's never going to come back. So now he's got to deal with that. He's got to deal with his family. He's got to deal with them overcoming that hurt, that pain. But he said after the grieving was temporarily over, because you go through this grief for years, and for some people they never overcome it, because the grieving process, the depression, anger, bargaining, denial, and finally acceptance. And you can go back and forth with those emotions. It doesn't present itself in the same order each time. So he said once the temporary grieving process was over for him, he had to really get his head on the right track in terms of remembering her memory and her legacy. And of course, he says he thinks about her every day. Not a day goes by that he doesn't. And for most parents, you're never gonna forget your child. You're never gonna stop grieving, but it gets easier. There's a saying that time heals all wounds, meaning it gets better with time, but you never forget. He says his daughter was in the midst of writing a book, I guess like a tell-all story about her life, because a lot of people who go through addiction wants to help others, and they usually tell the story of their life. And she has openly talked about her addiction in the past when she was on the reality show Growing Up Hip Hop. Master P is the father of 9 children. I didn't even know he have that many children. But he said when he received the news that Tatiana was dead, he got the news from one of his other daughters, and he said it was the worst call that you could imagine any parent would have to receive. Tatiana lost her battle back in May when she was coming out of rehab and had a promising future. But Master P says it was so difficult for him dealing with that because, as a young person in the industry at the time, when he was making a name for himself, coming out of poverty and really making it, he really thought that his kids can learn from where he's been and where he's at right now, and to better their lives, and just use him as an example to put a positive spin on their life. But like I said before, when the devil sees progress and positivity, the devil just wants to destroy that. But I'm happy to see that Master P has taken the higher ground and not wallow in sorrow and not be productive, because a lot of times that's what happens, that people get so grief-stricken that they forget to put a positive spin on the death of that loved one. And this is what doing is moving forward, is to try to help those who really need help in the same type of substance abuse that they're suffering, like his daughter. So my condolences to Master P and his family for the loss of his beautiful daughter, Tatiana. May God rest her soul. YouTubers, I'm over and out. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel and to this video. Thank you for watching.